Wrecking Crew mic check 1 2. What's going on, Warriors of Light? Clash SK here. Welcome you to the visual guide for Matoya's Relict, the new dungeon for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers, released with patch 5.4, futures written today. This is going to be us taking you through the important mechanics of each of the boss fights. There's not a lot, to be honest, going on. If you've managed to carry yourself until now, you won't have too much trouble, but we looked for a guide before going in and we couldn't find one. So I thought, you know what, let's just post our run and let's help the next folk looking for a bit of a guide before going in case you're new to the game, or maybe your gear is not just up to the standards and you'll want to be sure that you know what you're doing. So there you go, let's go right into it. Be upset at us anymore.
I think they can.
Okay, so this is bullshit, obviously, so let's pull more. If we can't because of the... Well, look, I'm not taking any damage. Oh, let's pull...
Because the healer is awesome.
Because the healer is amazing. I stand corrected.
What do they mean?
Sonny of Ziggy. I don't know, he sounds like the son of Zion or something. Right, so this man, Mudman. Okay, do we have... So, Mudface. This encounter is fairly straightforward. We call it the pool table because you're kind of playing pool / snooker with the balls of mud that you can see around. So, like most bosses really in this game, you'll have a tank buster that you need to mitigate through in order to just, you know, make sure that you don't die silly. You'll have a AoE damage affecting the whole group that the healer will have to mitigate through, or at least to heal through with their cooldowns, standard stuff. And then he will do an ability that's going to tether you into each of the mud balls. And what you'll need to be doing is you'll need to position yourself so that the mud balls will run directly through you and behind you in one of the holes that have a swirl of wind attached to them. If you do that, I think things should work out for you. That's what we did, and we survived it, and none of us was particularly amazing. So just do that, avoid the regular, you know, bullshit you see on the floor. At some point I think he does also a stacking marker, so just stack for that, but it's really straightforward. Listen, this is not going to cause any trouble at all. Moving on. That's not whatever his name is. Mange tout in French. What's the name in German? The slimy Ghostbusters? It's not him. Oh my god. People, you need to know that this is about, I was going to say 16, which would make me, you know, something I don't want to call out in the stream. So let's just say she's 18. That's how young she is. Right, so next boss, what's going on here? Hard rock. Second boss is Moockie Mouse, you get it, you know. That has a few mechanics that are quite interesting. The first one is a tank buster that's going to generate a cage around the tank and then 4 tethers around him. So if you have a mitigation like I did on the second run that we did after that, like the Blackest Night, you want to wait to trigger it until a bit later, otherwise you'll miss out the attack and you'll mitigate too early. Then it has a side sweep that is a little bit like the bird encounter in Eden if you've done that. So just look on the side when you start tethering towards one side to see which of the pipes is not going to blow up water, and stand there, that will avoid it. Then the boss will go into some sort of cloud platform and generate some geyser from the floor. What you want to be doing is hurrying up onto the first geyser that appears as close to him as possible. You might be able to get on with the second geyser as I just did, and go up there and kill all the enemies that you can see. We're not sure what happens if they survive, but I'm assuming it's going to be something bad. If you do that, you'll be okay, you'll survive it. When you get down there, it's going to do a it's going to get a bit crazy and do a little bit like the boss in Dune Meg, that does all the geysers on the floor. Don't be a noob and don't stand on the geysers and you'll be fine. And that's pretty much the encounter. There's nothing else of any kind of value that you don't already know, with the usual stark markers and, you know, mitigation of the main tank buster and a group damage for the healer not to fall asleep. But that's pretty straightforward. It's a pretty encounter. There's some nice sprites around, but yeah, that's pretty much it, you know. Considering that we are not really, you know, geared for anything particularly fancy, and that by the way was in the leveling dungeon as a stone monster, like a fire monster. I'm assuming next patch there'll be some sort of water. That's something we've done actually. In the Ilmeg, I think there was the same with water, isn't it? The same. Another molten Phoebe. If it's a girl, Phoebe. If it's a boy, Phoebo. So the last boss is Pork Chop the Tasty Killer, as you get the best of our pro healer during our run. Two things to mention. First, Meat Mincer, your tank buster, so he'll heal through that while cooldown. And the second one, the AoE blast, is called Tenderloin, so these two attacks are going to come at some intervals during the encounter. Then there's going to be a mechanic of push and pull that you're going to have to play around with. The push is going to be pretty obvious. The boss is going to blanket the area and leave only the middle of the room safe. At which point you have to go and hug the boss, but don't get close to the wall because otherwise you'll be pushed outside the area that is safe. So just stand in front of the boss, kind of hug him, but not too close, and you'll be fine. The second mechanic is a mechanic of pull. So the boss is going to do a point blank AoE land on one side, so stay away from that. And then he's going to do a wind that's going to suck you in towards him and make you stand in an area that's going to appear, that's going to one-shot you. So you want to stand away from him as far as you can before the wind starts sucking you in. And then you want to run opposite the wind's direction while dodging all the stuff flying through the room. If you do that successfully, then you'll be fine, and the mechanic will look like not much really. The last thing is that at some point, as you can see now, the boss is going to pop an ad at the middle of the platform, and you kill him as quick as you can before the gauge gets to 100. And when the ad dies, it's going to propulse you in the air, and you'll have to pay attention to where the boss is blowing, so that you can then stand on the right side and make sure that you land in a safe area. And that's the encounter. Not very difficult, but yeah, that's it. It's quite fun to enjoy. And this concludes our visual guide for Matoya's Relict, the new dungeon introduced with patch 5.4, Futures Rewritten, for Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. Thank you for watching. Let us know what you thought about the dungeon in the comments below, and remember, as usual, finish strong, but start casual. And these clowns are coming now that we've done the work for them.